Welcome to Renee Marie Stroke of Luck. I'm Renee Marie. Today, as always, we have a phenomenal show. In my life, as everyone always knows, nothing happens in life without a reason. And it's almost like the Celestine Prophecies book, where everything happens for a reason, and this kind of leads to that, and this leads to that. And everyone knows approximately, I guess it was a year and a half ago, I was hit by a car. I hurt my knee, and that created my herniated discs. And actually, but there's been gifts along the whole path. The doctors have been phenomenal. And dear friend Rosanna had introduced me, had said to me, she was very concerned because we have a prayer circle every week, and I went to the prayer circle, and I was literally laying on the floor praying while everybody else was sitting up because I couldn't move. It's true. So Rosanna said, Renee, I really don't like to recommend anybody because, if you don't like them, I feel really bad. And she goes, but I have a great chiropractor. He is a great chiropractor. I've been going to him for years. And how many years, Dr. Mike, has she been going to?
Over 20.
Over 20 years. And she said, I'm just going to give you the name, and you can go and you could see. And as soon as I walked in the office, I just knew he was your different kind of person, different kind of doctor. It wasn't so much about the insurance or about the money. That all came secondary. It was really about how he could help me and his patients to recover and to become whole again. And I knew from that moment on. And then there was gifts along the way, as every time he went into his office, he is so filled with knowledge that I think we have to have him on for 5 years, every month, once a month, for a 2-hour show, probably to get all the information. And we probably still we'll run out of time. So a wealth of knowledge, and really very educational, and very, what's the words I'm looking for? Very educational, but very, if you listen to the reasons why and you take the time to understand it, everything he says is making sense, and it's holistic, and it's really going back to the simplicity in life, not the way people are operating today. So Dr. Mike Evangel, right? That's how you say your name? I just want to make sure because everybody knows I'm a little bit off with saying names. But Dr. Michael Evangel, who's out of Ramsey, New Jersey, is our wonderful special guest today. So before we introduce him to the show, Judy and I are just going to touch base on a few things that have been happening, and it's going to happen. And so before we forget, though, hi, Judy.
Hi.
I forgot to introduce Judy, but everybody knows Judy. Judy's my Gilman. We just renamed her. Like Kelly has Gilman. And by the way, we didn't make it for the 40 of the guest hosts, but that doesn't mean we can't be a guest on Kelly's show.
That's true.
When her co-host is on, we could be a guest. And you can have a whole guest show.
Yes.
Right? So before we forget, we really want to share with Terry George, who is the president of the Rotary. What Rotary is she president of?
She's president for the second term at the Northport Rotary Club, the Rotary Club of East Northport.
Wow.
Long Island. And
they are the ones that made that wonderful, generous donation to the foundation, to the telethon. And we have everybody joining our family. We love to have a family. And we always say that one day when we're speaking and singing and we have to everybody come together, we're going to need Yankee Stadium to really come together because we're going to have that many people on our family and really coming along with us. And we have some phenomenal stuff going on. But Terry, we really want to thank you and the Rotary for the donation and for really coming on to our family, and you've worked, this will be the third telethon she's on.
Yes.
So, and we have some exciting stuff coming for the telethon, which we're trying to announce on our October 15th show, which leads us into...
First, before we lead into that, Frank Doyle is her pianist, keyboard.
Yes.
I don't want to forget about Frank.
No.
Hi, Frank.
Hi, Frank. Frank worked with Weird Al Yankovic. And with Meatloaf. And by the way, last night, I wish somebody would have taped this because we did Paradise by the Dashboard Light. Love that song, and it gets everybody rocking and rolling, and that's a
I
good
saw
song.
a couple dancing.
It was really good. It was really good. But thank you so much, Terry. Thank you so much, Frank. We look forward to working with you in the future. And October 15th, it's our next show.
Yes.
It really is a pinpoint moment in the foundation's history. It was probably 5 years. It was exactly 5 years ago where I had this vision to have a foundation, not even so much to have a foundation, but to have a telethon. And when I was walking around the Adler's Aphasia Center in Maywood, New Jersey, which is a phenomenal center, Elaine Adler was showing me around, and I said, oh, God, we got to do a telethon. And that really was the vision of the dream. And really, to have a telethon, you have to create a foundation because nobody's going to give money to an organization that's not a 501c3. So we had to really become an actual foundation, which I absolutely positively know that it was a gift from God because I created an incorporation, and I think it was 3 or 4 months later, we had it 501c3 by the same company. And so when things happen that easy, I know that it's
And on your route to the telethon,
On my
you
route to the
got
telethon.
on your mission to form the telethon and discuss the telethon, you became host of Renee Marie's Stroke of Luck TV.com.
That's a whole other baby, which we spoke about on the show. How Michelangelo, who's on our foundation, actually invited us to be a guest with Tommy Marr on the Maverick Soul Hour. And Tommy and I were talking, and I was so excited about the telethon, and Tommy kind of opened the door, this little inch, and I said, do you want to be host? And he goes, well, maybe. I'm like, well, maybe. That's a yes, So, then we came and met with them, and while I'm talking to Tommy about the telethon, Bobby's over here talking to Janine about doing a show, and I'm like, what do you mean do a show? Anyway, so October 15th is going to be a really important moment, a show. It's going to be 2 hours, which Madhouse TV is giving us a platform for 2 hours. So we're really going to have where we've come from and where we're going, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. So we cannot wait to have that show. The theme
is I Had a Dream.
Actually, I changed it, believe it or not. Yeah, because I Had a Dream was too much about me. And I know that I was the visionary, but we needed a team of people to create it. So I actually changed it to Together We're Lifting Our Voices. Good. Together We're Lifting Our Voices. Because when I was envisioning it, it was me. I was a lead on the visionary, but I couldn't do it without everybody around me. So I did change the concept, and we're allowed to do that as women.
Of course.
So let's get to other stuff so we can go to a break, and then we'll talk to Dr. Mike. So October 29th is World Stroke Day.
Yes.
So that is going to be an awesome show. We invited Mark McEwen to be on that show, and actually the October 15th show. I have not heard back from him. He's trying to travel in to New York for another promo or show he's doing.
And Sharon Bean.
We invited Sharon Bean. I'm not sure where she is, but the truth is whether they're here live or maybe we can have them do a short video. But it's really important because we want everybody to be a part of this, everybody. And whether they're here or not, we're going to be talking about each person and how important they played in the foundation. One more. I just met with Diane Gilbert.
Good.
She is a phenomenal woman who her husband died 11 years ago. And for the first few years, she always gave it to a small organization. We're small now, but we're getting big. But she always would give it to a small organization because you really wanted to know her money was doing some good. And this is the second year that they donated the proceeds from the swim meet to our organization. And Darlene, who was with, I forget what the name of the organization.
Oh, Stroke. It was a stroke organization.
Yes. But anyway, she, her organization wasn't in gear anymore, so she recommended us to Diane, and Diane took it on because we're a 501c3. So we're so blessed. We're so blessed. She is actually the the proceeds that she had given us is going to help sponsor our October 15th show. So she's going to send me photos, and I'm going to promo it as far as them.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you,
so
Diane.
much.
We're so, God bless your grandchildren. I saw her a photo of her granddaughter. She's got a grandson she just had. So anyway, so we're really happy. We're really excited. Thank you, Janine and Tommy in the studio in the back end of it. They're doing the back end today. So we're going to come back, and we're going to introduce you to Dr. Mike. And the gift with this is that it'll be videoed. So you can always go back, because he's going to give us so much information that you're not going to be able to process it all. I can't process it all. But you can always go back and keep learning from what he explains to us and he teaches us. We'll be right back.
You know you already want a Toyota, but when you want more from your Toyota store, you want Smithtown Toyota, where every Toyota comes with Smithtown Toyota's Toyota for Life program, giving you lifetime New York State inspections, lifetime 10% discounts on all parts and service, 2 years of complimentary oil changes, 2 years of scheduled maintenance, and more, all at no cost to you, plus low clear-out deals on every Toyota in stock. Get more from your Toyota store. Hurry to Smithtown Toyota.
Galaxy Luxury Coach is a full-service limousine and party bus company. Family-owned and operated, we are an industry leader with over 25 years of experience in providing best-in-class luxury transportation for your special event. Whether it's your precious wedding day, an all-day wine tour out east, your high school prom, that special birthday, or just an amazing night on the town, our professional chauffeurs stand ready to ensure your special event is truly special. Galaxy Luxury Coach has one of the largest and modern party bus fleets in the New York area. Our party buses are simply nightclubs on wheels. Concert sound systems, light shows, lasers and strobes, multicolor LED lighting brilliantly lights your party bus inside and out. For corporate and more laid-back events, we will cater to your specific needs and requests. What sets Galaxy aside from all others in the luxury transportation industry is our attention to detail in customizing our services to your special event. At Galaxy, it's all about you and your guests. Galaxy customers return time and time again because they know they can trust Galaxy to help deliver those lifetime memorable moments. Step aboard and let your Galaxy experience begin.
This is Beth.
Hi.
Oh, congratulations. When are you due?
I'm not pregnant.
Oh, look at that. Excuse me.
You're totally thin.
You look very sexy.
For life's bleachable moments, all it takes is 3/4 of a cup.
You smell so good, I won't have to bathe the next 2 weeks. Anything. So, here, laugh a little harder. All right?
I will take him. I would be proud to show you off, you little old weirdo man.
Get a new sweater. The worst dressed man here tonight. Right? Look, get that laugh, and get it in there tonight because nobody else is gonna laugh like her. She's under drugs, all right?
For professional motorcycle transport and towing, think Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing. Proudly serving all of Long Island, we feature expert handling and 24/7 service. So send a limo for your toy with Kickstart Fabrications Motorcycle Towing.
We are the Stylistics Review, and you're watching MadhouseTV.com.
Hi, welcome back to Renee Marie Strokaluk. Here we go. Let me introduce Dr. Michael Evangel. Nice to have you here, Doctor.
It's great to be here today.
Yeah, I'm so like I was saying in the promo and the the introduction, is our connection of really a divine intervention. I believe everything happens in your life for a reason, and I know you have a feeling like that as well, right?
Right.
Yes. So, all right. So, tell us. When I came to you, tell us like how you analyze patients. Like when they walk in your office, because I know you have a kind of a holistic view on things. You're a doctor as well, but you take things and you kind of use your intuition a little bit on how to proceed with them, and you do your documentation and your research. And what do you call when they come in and you have to check them off of all those papers? What do you call that?
Right. Well, that's doing the taking the patient history and also doing the initial examination and consultation.
Yes, and eval, right? Isn't it
right.
Eval too?
Initial evaluation.
Yes, yes. So when I walked in your office, what was the first intuition you had? I'm asking him on the air.
The first thing I felt is that it was going to be a challenge, because I like a lot of challenges, because a lot of times you get the same type of case in the office, but you were a very unique situation because of your accident and because of the combination of everything. And I always tell my patients that, like you said, everything happens for a reason. Nothing occurs as far as a sign or symptom in the human body by accident, because everything is communicating to the patient and also to the doctor, if they tune into it, what's going on. Symptom is something you complain about, but a sign is something that you can detect through some type of evaluation. That's the difference between a sign.
Say that again.
A sign is something that a doctor can check. For example, like blood pressure, your cholesterol levels, all those different things are signs. But symptoms are something you actually complain about.
Right.
And the thing that Western medicine doesn't really get is that just because you don't have a symptom doesn't mean there's nothing wrong.
Right.
Because you've heard people going out for a run and they drop dead from a heart attack.
Right.
Obviously, they'd be run to the hospital and not going out for a run if they thought they have a heart attack.
Right, right,
Or somebody
right.
that bends down to pick up a newspaper and they throw the back out.
Right.
Well, obviously, bending down to pick up the newspaper isn't what did it, or else everybody that bends down to pick up a newspaper would throw the back out.
Right. Right.
But you need about, as mentioned before about this, you need about a 40% alteration in nerve impulse before you feel any pain or discomfort. So something can be 20 or 30% off, you can't feel it. And Western medicine pretty much says, oh, you feel fine, you're fine. But now they're getting more into a lot of other things which are called subclinical, where there's something brewing.
Wow.
For example, a lot of times you feel like you're coming down with something.
Right.
You're not sick, but you say I have to, sleep, I have to eat properly,
Right.
rest to get better. And sometimes it works, you never get the illness, and sometimes you don't, because the human body gets tired because you're spending that energy fighting it off. So we only have a certain amount of energy, a certain amount of gasoline in our tank. And if you're spending your energy fighting something off, you can't be running around like the Energizer Bunny.
Right. Right.
So everything happens for a reason. So I try to tune into the patients from the time I meet them to see their stress levels, to see, the way they walk. And sometimes it's a scary thing. I can be at the mall and I can see a patient about 100 feet ahead from the back, because a lot of times I work on people from the back.
Right. Right. Right.
And I told my wife one time at the mall, oh, there's so-and-so over there, a patient of mine from 100 feet away, because you can tell the way they move.
Right. 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 So, so I walk in.
Right.
And you didn't know prior to me coming in that I had a stroke.
No, I
did
did
you?
not.
Okay. And did you anticipate something once you saw me, or did you only learn that after me telling you?
Well, I could tell there's something going on there, and I was
Aside
thinking,
from my herniated disc.
right, I was thinking that you might have, because the bend in your arm, and when you smile, there's a slight asymmetry in your mouth,
Yeah.
by your face.
Yeah.
So there's different things that you pick up on people.
Right.
And so I had an inkling, about that, but then you confirmed it when you told me.
Yeah. So the reason that I chose you was because, since I had 2 herniated discs and, and I wasn't, I just was going through recovery, I didn't want to be cracked.
Right.
I've had that before, and it works if you're a good chiropractor, but if you're cracking somebody and you kind of make a mistake like anybody can, I was really afraid to go in that direction, especially I was in excruciating pain with my
Right.
herniated discs.
Well-
So I chose to go with you because you had a
computerized adjusting.
Yes, Pro Computer Adjusting Center. Now you had upscaled a little bit, am I correct?
Right, because I originally had the original Pro Adjuster, and now I have the Ultraline G2, which is both made by the same company, Sigma Instruments. They're out in Pennsylvania.
Wow.
It's American made. So because a lot
Wow.
of our equipment now is from China. I've got a lot of old equipment from the United States that was made in Florida and
Wow.
Colorado back about 20 years ago. I don't want to get rid of these machines because they don't make them like
Right,
that anymore.
right,
But this is
right.
actually an upgrade, and it does computerized adjusting. It's FDA approved.
Wow.
So that it's not experimental or investigational. It basically uses a percussion to bounce a sound wave, a percussive wave off of the vertebra back to the sensor, and you get 3 pieces of information. You get a bar graph, which shows you how jammed the joint is. You get a dot, which is the resonating frequency, how many times the bone is oscillating back and forth per second, and a wave, which is the echo, like you would be checking with sonar the floor of the ocean.
Right,
So by
right.
taking those 3 pieces of information, then you get to decide which vertebrae need to be adjusted. Now, you talk about music all the time because I know you sing.
Yes.
And, and so what you do is you do the adjusting speed at a subharmonic. It's the same note but a different octave.
Right.
So you do the perfect speed to do the adjustment at to get the most biomechanical improvement of the joint.
Wow.
And when there's 10 impulses in a row where the echo varies by less than 2% plus or minus, it shuts off because it reaches maximum amount of improvement.
You just spoke another language.
Well, they can go
as
back
far
and
as
read-
as far as I no, I know. I could always backtrack to
Right.
try to understand it. But people know, and actually it's not my world to understand. That's why I have you to trust. I'm sure there's people in the world who, are very interested in finding out the concept of it. And it really is important. Janine, I think we have a photo of that machine. Did you put it up on the? No, that's the other one. That's
it.
That's
up
yeah,
now.
that's it.
Right.
That's it. So, but that's the machine that shows you the waves that are on there,
Right,
right?
and
That
also-
shows you the dot and stuff like that.
It does the evaluation and the treatment both.
Right now,
It does both.
I don't have a photo of the actual the prong. It's like a prong, right? That you
The adjusting
use-
head.
The adjusting head. It's almost like a U shape, and you put
Right.
that U shape. You go along my.
Well, there's two different ones they use on you. One is the one that looks like a U, and you contact both sides of the spine at the same time to do the readings and the adjustment on the spine. And then there's the one that looks like a rubber stopper almost, and that's for doing muscle work.
You've done that on me?
Oh yeah, that's
I
when I
don't
do the
remember.
soft tissue work. I start by the base of the skull, go across, and then go down.
Oh, I don't remember.
After I do the spine, what I do, when you work on your muscles.
Yeah. Well, I just get into a meditative state,
Okay.
so I don't even I'm like, okay, do what you got to do back there. But it's true. I mean, so there are two types of.
Right, one for the spine and one for the muscles.
Oh, wow.
And when you use the muscle adjustment, the one that treats the muscles, what happens is that when the muscle reaches its maximum amount of relaxation, it shuts off. But when you do the adjustment of the spine, when the vertebra reaches its maximum mobility, it shuts off. So I like smart equipment. As a matter of fact, I think that machine is smarter than a lot of people I know.
Yeah. So okay. So
That was a joke, by the way.
I know. I was thinking of my next question to you. So, all right. So you use that machine. Is there ever a time where you don't need to keep being evaluated or treated on that, or is that just a constant thing that you need to go back to make sure that everything is adjusted? Because our bodies keep changing every single moment of every single day.
Right.
So, I know that I'm going to go back to you, but how do people know if they need to keep seeing a chiropractor?
That's an excellent question. And people come in different ways. Some people, I call them my a la carte patients. And what happens with them is they come in when they feel like they need it.
Right.
And then I have other patients come in on more of a regular maintenance type of schedule.
Right.
Every so often. I had one patient who was a plumber, and he used to come in twice a week.
Wow.
Twice a
Probably
week.
because he moved. He's always moving in.
Right.
In
Torquing and
yes.
That's like Tommy was telling me before the show about how he was doing all his work and contorting himself in all these positions. And plumbers do that. They have to pick up hot water
Right.
heaters. And
Right.
so anyway, I've got that extreme twice a week on a continuing basis.
Right.
And then on the other end, I have a few patients that would come in once a quarter. They would come in and they would try to do that at the beginning of the fall, the beginning of the spring, because every time the seasons change, they know it's just about time to come in
Right. Wow.
for more maintenance to try to keep them tuned up and in good shape.
Is there any, this is probably a silly question, but do you find like at any age is specific that comes to you? Do you ever get young children, or do you think that they don't need it, or is it usually 50? I mean, I'm just curious, like what's
That's another
the
good
average
question.
age? Thank you. That's why I'm a host.
The hostess with the most. The first thing is that trauma can happen any time in your life. The first trauma is birth. Going through the birth canal, most of us don't remember it, but it was a pretty rough trip. And especially if the doctor ends up really yanking the baby out. And I know that years ago, and I had a bunch of patients that were injured by forceps.
They used the head, right?
Yes.
They used the forceps.
And also the suction cups they use, and they pull the baby out. So
But if you need to use that, I mean, they're stuck in there.
Well, it's interesting because when I had OBGYN in school, because we have to have all the basic same courses that medical doctors have, and they're getting more into this. Places they have birthing chairs where they actually squat because they use gravity as an aid. Because in the United States, most people are laying on their backs when they give birth, but it makes sense to use gravity.
Wow.
So a lot of times the baby comes out a lot better, a lot
Wow.
easier in
Wow.
the squatting position. But anywhere along the line, traumas can occur, and children fall a lot of times thousands of times by the time they're 5 years old.
Right.
From the time they
right.
start to actually cruise
Right.
to the time they're 5, they've
Right.
had most of them at least a couple thousand falls.
Wow.
So any one of those falls can
Yeah.
cause trauma.
And let me ask you this before you finish.
Go ahead.
Would it be maintenance for a parent to bring their, since it's not cracking, since it's nothing you're doing to them that's going to affect them, would you recommend that because kids are always playing football and playing
Right.
softball and, playing all the sports or just, playing hard outside. Would you recommend that they come to you for maintenance?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I got interested originally to become a chiropractor because I was a patient.
Oh.
And I've been doing martial
yeah,
arts
you said that to
for
me.
many years. So I was injured in a car accident when I was 19. My chest actually hit the steering wheel, and we didn't wear seatbelts much back then. This was 1973. Hit the steering wheel, and it knocked the steering wheel right off the steering column. It hit so hard.
Wow.
And I had a steering wheel in my hand with no attachment to anything. So I had a lot of trauma from that. I became a chiropractic patient. And then I continued after I was better because I was competing martial arts to get tuned up before tournaments and also get put together after tournaments.
Wow.
So you can look at it, to recover from
Yes,
athletic
yes.
injuries and also to tune the body to prepare for athletic events.
Wow.
So you can do
Wow.
both.
Wow, that's very interesting. And I'm glad we're touching on the basis, like when you should go, when you shouldn't go. That's really important because people look at the program and say, well, I don't know if I should, I don't know when I should go. So we're touching on the really important
Right.
basic stuff that happens. So let's go into, we had another photo on there that you do your radiation on me. What is it called?
It's laser.
Laser. Yeah,
Right.
show that, Janine.
Yes.
That's a laser.
Yes.
And because you use that on my knee very much.
Right.
So what does that do?
Well, it is radiation, but it's very safe radiation because any light is part of the electromagnetic spectrum. It's the visible light. And that's red and infrared. Actually, the red and infrared helps the body heal because, we're getting technical again, it stimulates the mitochondria, which burn fuel in the cells to produce more ATP molecules. Now, ATP is the currency of life.
Right.
All living things on our planet run off of ATP. It stands for adenosine triphosphate. And the bond between the second and third phosphate, it breaks off the third phosphate to the diphosphate, and that bond is what all our physiological
Wow.
processes in the human
That is-
body
that just blows
run
my
off of.
mind.
And every living creature on the planet runs off of
Doesn't that blow your mind?
Yes.
I mean, just the concept that we're these little things and we're all created, and I mean that's pretty. That's a miracle.
It is. Well, God has a plan. And I always say that the human body, as far as we know, is the greatest creation God ever created.
Absolutely.
And nothing happens by chance or by accident in the human body.
Absolutely.
And whenever there's a sign or a symptom, it's for a reason.
Yes. So,
So-
let's go into the inflammation.
Right. Well, just to
Okay,
tell you,
you wanna-
the
the
laser,
laser?
stimulates the healing because that red infrared light, when you go out in the sun, you feel better in the sun.
Yes, I do.
It actually stimulates the healing process.
Right.
So it's focusing that energy that the sun provides on the area.
Wow.
So inflammation, you mentioned.
Yes.
Okay, inflammation is one of our greatest enemies
Yes,
of
that's
modern man.
That's what you're saying in the green room, which
Right.
Judy and I had no idea of the effects of inflammation because you always hear things are inflamed,
Right.
So tell us about it.
But because of the American diet, because of all the sugar and the white flour that we eat, the processed foods, the junk that people eat today, and now just basically last year I heard that Americans spend more money now on processed and prepared foods than they do on real food.
Right.
So they've gone overboard on that. I think it's probably a long time ago they started doing that.
Yeah.
But we really need to eat real food. Real food meaning, natural food that's either raw or cooked, but, fruits, vegetables, and, nuts, berries. I go more towards the paleo diet. I always tell my patients, if an alien took you to their planet and they put you in a zoo, what would they feed you? It won't be Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. I'll tell you, I don't think they have Dunkin' Donut shops over at the alien planets. But
Yes.
if we were there, they would give us what primitive humans ate.
Right.
Which really,
Right.
we eat more sugar now in one day than our ancestors had in a month.
Yes. Yes.
Average American consumes about a half a pound of total sugar a day. We should have less
Wow.
than 25 grams.
Wow.
Which is 4
Wow.
teaspoons
Wow.
of sugar.
Wow.
So we have
Wow.
all this garbage that we eat.
So how does that relate to the chiropractor field, like inflammation?
Well, it creates inflammation. Inflammation creates health problems in general. The major causes of death in the United States, you have cardiovascular, which will lead into what we're going to do next, which includes heart attacks and strokes,
Right.
as well as hardening of the arteries. Then you have diabetes, which leads to a lot of other problems, which is related to obesity, which relates to overeating. And you have cancer.
Right.
And they're all related to chronic inflation,
Right.
every
And
one of those.
And while we're on the cancer subject, this October and I didn't know it was wearing pink for that reason, but God does mysterious things, that pink is Think Pink for breast cancer.
Right.
So we want you to remember all those that have had breast cancer and survived breast cancer, and really to recover for breast cancer is really an important thing to be aware of, especially for women. And I even heard men have breast cancer
Yes,
as
they do.
well.
I heard that.
Yeah, so it's really important, and we want to support everybody because our motto is together. We need to work together. So I'm sorry, I just
That's
wanted
okay.
to bring that up. That's why that the American Stroke Association, as well as all the stroke associations, the National Stroke Association, says that 80% of strokes can be prevented.
Right.
If you take care of yourself, if you eat properly, if you maintain your blood pressure from diabetes. So that really is one of the keys.
Well, I would go along with not only that, but I'd say about 80% of all chronic diseases can be
Wow.
prevented through, I always say that, we have excesses and deficiencies, and that's why we're ill.
Right.
Some things we get too much of, some things we don't get enough of.
Right.
So if you can be in that Goldilocks zone with things not too much, not too little, you can be in the middle, then you can be pretty much healthy without, having the risk of all these chronic ailments.
So show us some, because and you're not going to believe this, but we've been on the air for 40 minutes already.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure. And once again, Dr. Mike's got to come back. He's got too much information, and we want to make sure we cover everything we want to make sure we cover everything in detail. We want to leave you hanging on anything. But he's got some products in front of him
Right.
that you sell in your office, which if you
Right.
go online, you can always mail it to somebody if they
You can always ship it to people
ship
too,
it to
right?
you.
Or they can
So
get it on their own too.
Tell us a little bit about the items you have in front of you.
Okay,
the
just-
skull we're going to get to in the
Yes.
next segment, but let's talk about, that's very interesting. That just blows my mind. But let's talk about the...
Well, he's being very patient.
Yes, he's being paid. And he's very colorful. Well, very colorful.
The first thing I want to talk about is this product called Restore. This was developed by Dr. Zach Bush, who's triple board certified, actually.
Wow.
He's a medical doctor. He's board certified in palliative and hospice, endocrinology, and internal medicine. He's a young guy, too. I'm not sure how he did this. But this is a product that's derived from ancient soils from the western United States.
Wow.
And what this does is it deals with leaky gut syndrome.
Oh, and you were talking about
Yes.
that in the green room, how
Yes.
leaky guts is really... tell us a little bit about leaky
Right. Well,
guts.
I like to call that hyperpermeable gut syndrome because we have pores in our intestines that pass nutrients into our bloodstream. Our small intestine, we have tight junctions. You think of it as a little opening, and molecules have to go from the small intestine into the bloodstream. But if it's leaky gut, these tight junctions, I call them loose junctions, they open up. So molecules that are too big get into the bloodstream, and this causes inflammation.
Wow.
It also causes eventually autoimmune diseases, and it can lead to cancer.
And autoimmune, doesn't have to be
Autoimmune.
Autoimmune.
Autoimmune, right.
That you can get a stroke from having an am I correct?
Well, autoimmune problems, that's more like rheumatoid arthritis and lupus and things like that.
Okay.
Hashimoto's, these are all autoimmune diseases. I think whenever you have any disease like that, it increases your chances of stroke, though, any of those other diseases.
Right.
Or diabetes, any of
Right,
those.
right.
But there's 4 basic causes of leaky gut syndrome. 1, genetically modified food. There's a lot of debate about that today, if GMOs are actually safe or not. And there's 2 scientific camps on both sides. I always err on the side of caution. If something possibly is bad for you, don't do it.
Right.
So try not to eat genetically modified food. The second would be drugs, both prescription and over-the-counter drugs. The third is gluten. And you never heard about celiac disease or gluten sensitivity or gluten-free foods when we were kids.
No, they're all over the place now.
Right.
Everybody is eating gluten-free.
Because of leaky gut, gluten becomes a problem with people that don't have a genetic predisposition to gluten sensitivity, but they have it.
But gluten is like the glue, right? Like the glue in pasta and the glue in bread, right? Am I correct? And it kind of like it clogs up your system.
Well, that's one way of looking at it, but it's not so far from the truth.
But I thought that was, but that's the way I understand it to be. That's like a concept that I see it, because when you eat gluten-free food, it kind of flows through you freely. when you eat gluten, foods that have gluten in it, it's kind of like stuck in you and it doesn't allow the flows. Explain.
Well, there's a lot of
he's looking at me like, okay.
We're going to make you a doctor.
there's a lot of nutritionists and holistic doctors that think we shouldn't be consuming gluten at all because primitive man, our paleo diet, we didn't really have gluten. So I think that my opinion is that if you have a healthy digestive system, you can handle gluten to a certain extent. But it's the gluten along with the GMOs, along with the drugs, along with Roundup, which is made by Monsanto, which is the biggest herbicide in North America, which is named by the World Health Organization as a probable carcinogen.
Wow.
All these things together form the perfect storm or the imperfect storm, and it creates leaky gut.
Wow.
And then the Restore, what it does, it helps to tighten up those junctions. And this Dr. Bush noticed that this molecule, which is called the carbon redox molecule, that derived from the soil, helps to actually heal the gut.
Right.
But we have to get to other things or else we'll never finish.
No, I know. But it's really important that we because there's so much, Dr. Mike, that's why I say, like, you got so much stored in your brain that, I mean, it just floors me how much information and how educated you are. And you're the type, like, when you find out something, you find out everything about it. You do your investigation on it. So it's really important to make sure that we give full details on
I try to find out as much as I can, right?
Yeah.
And I do have a blog that I do.
Oh, tell us where you can
find it. If
find
you go to
that.
my website, which is drevangel.com, www.dr for doctor, my last name evangel.com. If you click on the Facebook logo there, go right to my Facebook page. Monday through Friday, I have a blog that I do on health, fitness, longevity, and nutrition. And then also that's on the Ramsey Patch,
Right.
which is the AOL online newspaper.
Wow.
too.
Wow. So tell us, do you have more items in front
Oh,
of you?
yes.
Tell us
Just
really quickly about the items.
This Intramax is a very good supplement. It's a liquid vitamin made by Drucker. Dr. Drucker actually developed this, and it's a standalone nutritional system by itself, which is very good. If you only take one thing as a liquid, it's easy to absorb, and you can look that up online too. It tastes very good. Actually,
tastes good.
has a mango flavor.
Oh, I'll try that one.
Peach mango.
I'll try that one.
And talking about salt and high blood pressure, I recommend to my patients Himalayan salt.
Wow.
Himalayan salt is unrefined, has 84 different minerals, and it's
Wow.
pink because of the iron content. It actually can drop blood pressure, not increase it.
Wow.
And processed salt is baked at like 1200 degrees. It contains alum, which is aluminum sulfate that makes it not cake.
Wow.
And that can cause Alzheimer's too, which is another part of
Right.
debilitative diseases. So I always recommend Himalayan salt to my patients, which you can get a lot of places. Vitamin K2 is very important.
Yeah, you said that vitamin
Right.
K2, which I never heard of.
Right.
It's not so popular like vitamin C or vitamin B.
Right, but it's not known that well. But vitamin K2, along with vitamin D3, which is the proper form of D to get, takes calcium and puts it into your bones in your teeth instead of into your arteries and cause arteriosclerosis or atherosclerosis.
Wow.
And it's extremely important to have. And the ratio should be about 10 micrograms of K2, the MK7 variety, which this is,
Wow.
because there's two different varieties of K2, and to every 1,000 international units of vitamin D. Vitamin D is the cheapest supplement you can get most bang for your buck, because vitamin D levels are extremely important. I like to see my patients with a vitamin D level of around 80, which is a lot more than 30, which is usually recommended to be the minimum.
Wow.
I like to see about 80 with my patients.
Wow.
And then this is the liquid, which has the proper portion of 1,000 international units to the 10 micrograms.
What is that?
It's a liquid, vitamin D3 with the K2.
Vitamin D. Okay.
With the K2, right.
Wow.
But you could take
Wow.
the vitamin, the pill form.
Yes, absolutely. But you
Wow.
get the D3 with the K2
Yeah.
also. Now this is for inflammation. Fish oil is very good. Krill oil, turmeric is very good for reducing coenzyme Q10, ubiquinol. But if you're getting on with your years, CoQ10 you should not take. Ubiquinol is the form, same molecular structure, but two different electrons between the
Wow.
two, same molecule, basically, but the body converts CoQ10 to ubiquinol, and you start to lose that ability as you get older. So that's important for inflammation.
Wow.
Along with vitamin C, which should always be taken with bioflavonoids. But a good tip, get organic oranges, save the peels.
Wow.
Dry them out and eat the peels or put them in a coffee grinder. And that's one of the best forms of organic vitamin C.
Wow.
Orange
That's
peels.
amazing. It's
One per-
amazing how simple
never
it is.
thought of that.
And we just peel the oranges and we throw them away,
Right.
and we're throwing away something that's so important.
One person's garbage is another man's treasure.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's well, you know, I was just thinking, like, the next show you come on, I think we have to dedicate it through. We have to do 2 more shows. One for the next segment we're going to go into, which is the head and the doctor, but then a whole show on inflammation.
Okay.
Really important. Really
And
important.
I'll book it.
Could do a whole year on
I will
inflammation.
talk to you
Yeah,
about
but I
the
think
open
it's I
date.
think it's really important inflammation that we talk
It's
about.
extremely
that,
important.
Since it's
Before we go off of inflammation, the blood test you should get for inflammation.
okay.
Okay, C-reactive protein is very important. Not part of a standard annual blood test, it should be. Homocysteine should be checked at least once. Homocysteine is related more to breaking down elastin, not so much the inflammation, but it's all related.
Right.
The elastin is in your skin, it makes you look older, but also in your blood vessels.
Right.
And if your homocysteine is high, it makes you more susceptible to hemorrhagic stroke, whereas if your inflammation is high, you get more plaque, you're more susceptible to occlusive stroke.
Just it boggles my mind how it's almost a job to really, focus on yourself and
It's a full-time job.
It's a full-time job. You really have to balance your life, and take care of yourself, and exercise, and really watch what you eat. And that's why they say you are what you eat, because we
Exactly.
are what we eat.
Then 2 other tests, GGT, which is part of the standard test, which also goes up if you drink a lot of alcohol. It goes up. Alcoholics have very high GGT, but also because the liver gets inflamed with
Right.
a lot of alcohol consumption.
Wow.
And then the last test, 3 letters, B as in boy, N as in Nancy, P as in pop, BNP. And that's a very good test because it shows you not only inflammation, but your chances of having heart failure as you get older,
Wow.
too. And that's also not standard.
Another thing that I really admired about you is, like, with everything, you do your homework completely on someone that's coming in. You look for all my records. You looked at my MRI. You looked at, all the records that I had
It's
available.
so important, and
You know,
most
so the-
doctors don't do
Yeah, that's
that.
why I said, like, it's important, because you looked at the whole picture. And what I said in the press was, you have to, you can try to fix one thing, but you look at the whole mind, body, and soul to truly bring you together and try to find out how you could, repair and recover. So it's,
And that brings us perfectly to the next segment.
yes. See, that's why I got this job. No, I'm only kidding. So, do we need to take a commercial? Okay. So, Janine, could we hear the video so the doctor can you hear? Okay. So, we're going to show a video. What's his name?
Dr. Ted Corin.
Dr. Ted Corin. Tell us a little bit about it before we go into the video. Do a brief,
Okay.
because I have technique analysis, skull adjusting, and the relationship of skull to brain function.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Dr. Corin was a friend of mine before he even developed Corin's specific technique. I met Dr. Corin back in the 1990s, and we kind of hit off. I went to a seminar that he was teaching, and then we were talking a lot, and we started hanging out with each other, going out to dinner and things like that. And he actually, like what happened with you with the stroke,
Right.
something similar happened to him. He had a big piece of furniture fall on his head.
Oh my gosh.
He moved and it fell on his head. He went to all these doctors. He couldn't get better. So, what happened, like many other situations, there was a necessity for invention, and he went and developed Corin's specific technique to help himself. Also, his wife, Beth, was a wonderful woman. She had chronic migraines. He started treating her, and then he would teach other seminars and treat the doctors during the breaks, and then people demanded that he start teaching them this.
Wow.
And that's how it started.
And it's so intuitive. It really is
It's
intuitive.
just intuitive healing.
It's an
Yes.
intuitive healing. So, Janine, show the video if you don't mind, and let's see a little bit about the doctor.
Have you ever met someone who can locate your deep stresses and traumas? both physical and emotional, that no other doctor or healer has been able to locate and then correct them, even if you've had them for life? Dr. Ted Koren has been transforming lives, not just in the U.S., but around the globe. A world-renowned doctor of chiropractic, lecturer, writer, and teacher. He is the developer of the revolutionary KST, Koren Specific Technique. His work has spread to the far corners of the planet. He has trained over 3,000 students on 5 different continents. His original research and articles have been published in chiropractic and biomedical journals. Dr. Koren and his students' clientele include high achievers, athletes, public figures, and celebrities. Early in his life, an injury nearly prevented him from walking and even functioning as a productive member of society.
And I traveled all around. I saw between 40 and 50 doctors. I didn't want to wind up with surgery, cortisone, and drugs and painkillers and all.
Under tremendous pain and frustrated with the options he was given by top professionals, he set out to find an alternative. He would go on to discover what would come to be known as KST. His 10 years of suffering disappeared after only a few days. Propelled by his desire to help and heal others, he quickly became recognized for taking on the most difficult cases, the ones that other practitioners didn't want or couldn't solve. To many people's surprise, he was able to achieve miraculous results in a relatively short time using KST.
I gotta share with you, my life has changed. It's been a day later. I feel that the pain has been lifted off. I feel so much more clear. I gotta tell you, from 0 to 10, I was at a 10 pain. I tell you, I'm at like a 2.
Dr. Ted Koren is a true hero in the chiropractic and natural healing community. He risked it all to go head-to-head against the powerful Federal Trade Commission for freedom of speech for healthcare providers.
We won after 6.5 years, and the division of the federal government that was going after us was disbanded and eliminated. So we're really happy about that, because they were planning on going after naturopaths, midwives, homeopaths, all the natural healers. They went after me first.
This monumental win was a huge stepping stone for chiropractic and the growing natural healing community in the U.S. and the world. You are about to discover health secrets you won't learn anywhere else. Dr. Koren is about to share some powerful information, recent discoveries, and breakthroughs.
Hi. Isn't that amazing? I mean, it just the thought that, you could, when you did it first on me, I was like, what are you doing? You're like, I'm aligning your skull. I'm like, so tell us a little bit.
All right. Well, first I want to show you the skull now. See these different colors. These are called sutures that are actually growth plates. But the Germans and the English thought that the growth plates fuse, but the Italians had it right. The Italian anatomy book said they never fuse, because our growth plates in our body fuse as we become an adult, but in the skull they never do.
Right.
So I went many years never adjusting the skull until recently. And if you look inside here, inside the skull, the red bone there that's shaped like a butterfly,
right,
that's called the sphenoid. The sphenoid will articulate or touch every single other bone in the skull. It's the keystone bone of the skull.
No, I got a really silly question. When you have a stroke, it's divided. It could be the right side or the left side. How does that affect that? Because that's down the center.
Well, the right side of the brain controls the left side of the body and vice versa.
Right.
But what happens with the sphenoid, the way it's so important, is the pituitary gland sits right there. It's sella turcica, which means Turkish saddle in Latin.
Right.
It sits right there, and that's the master gland of the body.
Right.
So by adjusting the skull, you can change brain function.
Wow.
And especially with athletes too, that get trauma to the skull. But a lot of people, even like I said, from birth, they get traumas to the skull. So we do the 3 C's with Koren specific technique. The first thing we do, we challenge an area. And that challenge can be a physical challenge by touching the area first. and then we check with what's called the occipital drop, taking both thumbs and bringing it
Right.
down on the skull.
Right.
And if one thumb is lower than the other thumb, that is a yes. It needs to be adjusted.
Right.
If the thumbs are even, it's a no.
And how do you know where it needs to be adjusted?
Well, I ask. And that's where
the intuitive comes in.
right, because I can physically challenge the area, do a mental challenge. Now, I didn't believe this at the beginning because I'm a scientist. I was a science teacher.
Right.
I taught school. But empirical evidence, in other words, if something happens over and over again, there's a correlation, even though scientifically you might not be able to prove what the relationship is, you have to accept it if it's statistically significant.
Right. Right.
So with the corn-specific technique and the occipital drop, there's a corollary. What happens is that there's a significant correlation between that, so we accept it, even though we really don't know why it occurs yet.
It just blows my mind. So that was really just the introduction, because we're going to invite Dr. Ted Koren. You're going to try to reach out to him and see if he has the availability to come on and really explain to us, and maybe we could do some examples on the show. You could do it on me and Judy, and really it'll be, it just blows my mind. I'm sure that if anybody has any questions, they can always give you a call.
Right.
Your phone number is on your website.
Yes.
And we gave your website, and I
Right.
will scroll it along the bottom as
Okay.
well, so that people.
Okay, great.
Because when I take it home, I put it upload it to YouTube as well. We have like 30 seconds left. Really quickly, because I promised it in the promo.
Okay.
Who were some of the prestigious people that you've worked for? You've worked for the FBI, right? Really quickly.
Well, not chiropractic-wise, but I also teach police defensive tactics. And the reason why I was really into intuitive healing, because it's more of an Eastern way of doing things. And I've been doing martial arts for many years. And I've worked with many federal agencies, the FBI, the DEA, U.S. Marshals, Secret Service, New Jersey State Police SWAT team. I taught them, a whole bunch of
And you've been
different
in
federal
the
agencies.
presence of the presidents and the Senate, and even Hillary.
No,
Clinton.
I've never met Hillary.
You never met her, but wasn't she in the area, or you knew about her, stories about her because of the.
Well, I was actually
talk.
saw some Secret Service agents I knew up when I was at a seminar that were telling me stories, but I want to get into that now.
Okay. That we'll leave them hanging.
I might be sued.
No. We don't want. We know what we don't want to tell stories. We don't want to tell stories. I was just really honored and privileged to talk to somebody that has really helped in your life, and you really do. You help people, and that really is the gift. Okay, we have to go because it's 2:01. We're a minute past. Thank you, Dr. Mike. We're going to have you back. Judy is definitely going to schedule you. And so I can't even sing at all today. We'll blow kisses. We blow kisses. Ready?
Okay.
God bless everybody. See you on October 15th. Have a stroke of luck in your life. We'll be back with more with Dr. Mike.